this is Gowri.
And this is Arlene,
And you're listening to Jaringan ASEAN,
the voice of discovery and sharing. And we are sharing our discussion here with whom?
Today we have very special guests from Empower. We have Wasanthee, we have Jana, and we also have another special guest. Maybe you want to introduce her, Arlene.
Her name is Fatimah, or Fatimah anak perempuan Bahsin. And she's a member of the Jaringan Kampung, Orang Asli Semenanjung, Malaysia. Or it is short for JKOASM. 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 Yeah, that's a better a better word to pronounce. So today we are going to talk about
The political development from the grassroots level.
Especially women's political leadership in concern. We have 3 different women here.
We even have the president of Empower.
Yeah.
So guys, you want to say hello to our listeners?
Hi, good morning. I'm Jana, and I think I'd really like to say thanks to Arlene and Gowri for inviting us on such a vital issue, and it's very rare that voices from the grassroots get attention or highlighted. So thank you guys for inviting us.
Hi, my name is Wasanthee. Hails from Kuala, Selangor, and it's a kind of opportunity to actually address the issues, the local issues, and at the same time empower the women from the grassroots level. And I think it's a beginning for us. Actually, thank you. Then.
And Wasanthee is a local councilor for Kuala, Selangor. Just to let you know.
Hai, saya Fatimah, anak perempuan Bahsin. Saya adalah salah seorang semak beri, berketurunan semak beri, dan juga bercampur semai.
Bercampur-campur
Saya bercampur. Sebelah ibu semak beri, dan sebelah ayah adalah semai. Jadi saya dilahirkan di Pahang, di dalam semak beri. Dan sekarang saya berkecimpung di dalam NGO kami, iaitu JKOASM, Jaringan Semenanjung Malaysia, Jaringan Kampung Orang Asli Semenanjung Malaysia. Saya ucapkan ribuan terima kasih kerana dijemput kami ke sini. Saya dipelawa oleh Empower. Oleh Empower kemari untuk
Jana.
Itu Jana untuk apa ya? Untuk memberi apa?
Untuk berkongsi pendapat.
Untuk berkongsi pendapat tentang masalah orang asli di Semenanjung Malaysia.
Dan juga political participation dari kaum wanita.
Okay.
Penglibatan politik,
penglibatan
pemimpinan wanita di tahap akaumbi.
So sebelum kita memulakan perbincangan kita pada hari ini, before we start our conversation today, can you introduce your work and your background in terms of your political involvement or your leadership involvement on the grassroots level? Can start with Jana.
Okay, thanks, Arlene. Basically, I think my background comes from working with communities directly. I worked with a very small, I think it's a community with around 300 households, and we were actually struggling on an issue which had to do with an illegal landfill. So I think that's where I learned how to work with communities, and I also have a strong feminist leaning, and I worked with the women's groups. So I think through that I began to appreciate the fact that women at the grassroots level need a very clear perspective, a framework which will enable them to develop leadership and participate meaningfully in democratic practices. And in that way, I think my involvement with Empower and the work that Empower's been doing very consistently, helped me develop into the person that I am today. And also, the communities that we have touched through our work.
Thank you, Arlene. Actually, to say I was involved in politics from before I got married and all that. And it was...
Which year was that?
That was in 1980s. 90s like that. Yeah, and then it stopped for a while, and then I got back into politics again after I got married and have children and all that. So I was working with the community quite some time already. At the same time, I was involved with Empower, the organization, and then we able to link the programs that we have with the community and all that, especially women, where we wanted to advocate on women to enter politics, to have a say, and at the same time they need to empower themselves to have a decision making level and all that. So that is why I get into Empower, and then at the same time we link with community and basically more to women and all that.
So, Jana, just now you were saying that you got in touch with all these communities because of the activities that you did through Empower. So what are some examples of activities that Empower has been doing to reach out?
Oh, okay. I was just thinking about Fatimah. We haven't really...
Oh.
Yeah. Jadi Fatimah boleh ceritakan sedikit ya latar belakang Fatimah berkecimpung dalam politik dan bagaimana Fatimah terlibat dalam kepemimpinan komuniti Fatimah.
Penglibatan saya di dalam politik memang dah lama, tapi masa dulu saya berkecimpung di dalam UMNO. Tetapi
bila agaknya tahun bila tu? Which year was that?
Tahun akak tak ingat masa di dalam UMNO, tetapi masa tu era pemerintahan Datuk Abdullah Ahmad Badawi. Masa tu akak adalah seorang ketua wanita UMNO bahagian paling besar. Tetapi akak rasa kurang memuaskan sebab suara orang asli tidak timbul langsung. Lepas pada tu akak pun terfikir untuk nak buat perubahan orang asli. Tapi kalau macam ni caranya, orang asli akan tenggelam. Lepas tu akak pun berhenti duduk senyap. Timbul PKR. Akak pun tengok di dalam PKR punya latar belakang, okey, mungkin boleh akak sambungkan semula di dalam politik. Lepas tu akak berkecimpung di dalam politik PKR beberapa tahun. Lepas akak dipanggil untuk wakil wanita orang asli. Akak dijemput untuk menyuarakan suara akak umbi orang asli. Di dewan apa pun akak tak ingat dah. Masa tu Datuk Seri Anwar. Akak tak sangka lah. Akak tak sangka sebabnya akak masa dulu akak bukan kuat politik sangat, tetapi mereka boleh menerima apa suara hati akak daripada akak umbi. Lepas tu akak terus dinaikkan. Akak di Pahang, terus ahli majlis MPN Negeri Pahang. Sampailah sekarang ni.
Going back to Jana.
Okay. Going back to Jana with a question that Gowri earlier asked.
Okay, the work that I've been doing with communities. Okay, if we take the example of say both Wasanthee and Fatimah, we can see there really is no space for women to engage meaningfully in political participation. Political participation in Malaysia is still very, it's still understood in a very pedestrian manner. You know, it's either PKR or it's opposition or it's government. And I think it's far beyond that. Like if we take grassroots women issues, yeah, it's very, very basic stuff. It's things like how they protect their environment, how they engage in decision-making processes within their community. If they, for example, development were to come in, how they're going to protect their resources and things like that. So I think that level of awareness that you need to be politicized in order to engage, it doesn't really happen in Malaysia. But surprisingly, it happens in small pockets. Like, for example, in Fatimah's case, because it's the Orang Asli community and they have been faced with depleting resources. So they have it comes from within, that they have to fight for what they need. So, but if you look at it in a broader perspective, Malaysians have engaged in this, and you see a very strong civil society participation.
But it's only happened quite recently, as in like in the late 90s.
If you talk about the kind of political awareness that has given birth to what is the situation today, it is a long-term process. It's not something that just manifested in the 90s. We had a very strong people's movement in the 60s, in the 40s, pre-independence, where we had a lot of working class, and it's also very class related. You had people who were workers who were, trying to engage in political processes because, they were fighting colonialism. So that has not really ended. But we've also had repression, state coming in and trying to repress people's participation itself. So it is a long process which has manifested in what it is today. But if you ask a person who's basically on the street and you ask them, how do you engage politically? Everybody would talk about voting. Yeah, but it goes beyond voting. Yeah, it goes to the point where, how do I want to determine how I live in my community? I think at the local level, that's where you get to see politics in a very real manner. Sometimes you get a bit disengaged, or there's a distance between what happens in parliament, for instance. But I think with social media, with a lot more awareness and a lot more freedom in the country, people are able to engage, but it is still not as meaningful as it should be.
And Wasanthee, you as a local councillor, what kind of challenges you face when you meet with the community? How do you manage to empower them and let them make decisions on their own in terms of what they need for the community?
Okay. When you talk about challenges, this is more to rural area. Like Kuala, Selangor, this is more to rural area. First of all, they have that financial instability. Most of them are farmers, planters and all that. So the financial instability that refrain them to involve, and at the same time they have a family commitment. They have to take care of their family, and then their children's going to school, and all that. Actually, at the same time, they also have a refrain from the family members. Sometimes they say, "Oh, what is the point that you're going out?" Like husbands and parents, they refrain them from going out. These are the challenges, and yet with overcoming with all these challenges, we used to have more courses, and at the same time where we meet them in person, we talk to them, we explain why they need to go out, what they need to do for the society, especially women. Some of them who does all that, like us, it is a bit of a challenge, and at the same time, some they understand, and then they will let the children, especially women, to let go, but some they don't. So it's a quite big challenge for us too.
Yeah, interesting. Dan bagi Fatimah, ini maafkan saya lah, tapi terdapat stereotip negatif terhadap orang asal. Sebagai contoh, mereka menganggap orang asal hanya inginkan pertolongan daripada kerajaan dan tidak mampu untuk berdikari dalam pembuatan keputusan untuk masyarakat mereka. Tapi sebenarnya apakah cabaran-cabaran yang sebenar yang berlaku dalam masyarakat orang asal di Semenanjung Malaysia?
Masalah yang berlaku kepada orang asal, kita dengar, biasalah didengar orang asal ni, mereka mengatakan orang asal ni hanya menerima subsidi. Setiap tahun subsidi. Sebab itulah, sebab peruntukan orang asal setiap tahun berjuta-juta. Sebab itu masyarakat luar, mereka menganggap orang asli ni adalah orang subsidi. Tetapi pada hakikatnya orang asli hanya mendengar suara subsidi, tetapi subsidi yang sebenar tidak dilaksanakan dengan telus kepada pihak orang asli. Mereka menyatakan orang asli, biasa dikatakan orang asli ni pemalas, hanya menerima subsidi. Pada hakikatnya orang asli seperti tanah lah. Biasanya contoh seperti tanah. Tanah kami usahakan hasil daripada titik peluh kami sendiri. Tetapi bila kerajaan nak buat sesuatu kepada orang asli, macam contoh projek ke apa ke, mesti dia ambil balik di dalam tanah orang asli. Bukan dia nak bantu di kawasan yang luar. Dia ambil balik tanah orang asli, itu dia katakan dia nak bantu orang asli. Kalau betul macam kerajaan nak bantu orang asli, tanah sedia yang ada tak perlu diusik. Sebab itu hasil ekonomi titik peluh di sendiri. Kalau kerajaan nak bantu, bantulah di kawasan yang luar, baru itu dikatakan subsidi.
Jadi bagi jabatan orang asli, adakah mereka betul-betul memahami situasi orang asal di Semenanjung? Adakah atau mereka sebenarnya hanya membuat generalization terhadap situasi sana?
Bagi JKOA pula, JKOA ni adalah ditubuhkan untuk menjaga hal ehwal kebajikan orang asli. Tetapi itu pun kita dengar bunyi saja. Kita dengar bunyi dia, tetapi tak dilaksanakan hal ehwal tu dengan telus. Sebab peruntukan orang asli tersekat kepada JKOA. Dia tidak jalankan tugasnya dengan yang betul.
Maybe you can tell us more about what JKOA is?
Okay, so mungkin boleh jelaskan sikit apa tu JKOA, apa peranan mereka dengan community?
Dulu JHEOA, Jabatan Hal Ehwal Orang Asli. Hal ehwal dia menjaga semua kebajikan orang asli. Tetapi sekarang dah diswastakan, iaitu JKOA. JKOA ni untuk kemajuan orang asli. Semua kemajuan orang asli nak ditentukan kepada JKOA. Kalau JKOA tak luluskan, orang asli tak boleh nak buat apa.
Bila akak cakap diswastakan, maksudnya dia bukan adakah dia di bawah kerajaan atau di bawah syarikat?
Dia di bawah kerajaan, tapi dia ada di bawah kerajaan, tapi dia telah diswastakan. Dia mengelirukan masyarakat orang asli. Itulah.
I think some of the things that we found out while working with the community itself. So Empower has started engaging with the training of women community members. We specifically choose women because we feel they're quite invisible. You have some very notable faces that you see in the movement, but there needs to be, like, for example, second liners. So we reached out to the community and we managed to find some issues which are quite disconcerting. One, a lot of young women don't make it to university level. There's a high level of attrition of young women or young girls from going to secondary school, because there's a process that happens where when you transfer to secondary school, you need to do some registration with the Jabatan Kemajuan Orang Asli and also the education department. So parents don't feel motivated, or it is a process that's very cumbersome. So they don't go out and actually get their children registered. So you find maybe the eldest daughter within the family actually drops out of school. So this is very alarming, because if you look from the 1970s up to present, only 800 Orang Asli have actually graduates. And you can imagine the number of women. Among the number of how many? It's 800 people, Orang Asli community members who have become graduates, which is miserable, right? If you think about the fact that you have a special department that is focused on developing this community, how can that be so?
Currently, what's the population of the Orang Asli in Semenanjung?
Lebih kurang 1 juta lebih ya.
Is there an estimation for that?
Orang populasi orang asli di Semenanjung Malaysia.
Lebih kurang macam itulah.
1.7 juta. It's about 1 million or so.
That's quite a significant number, isn't it?
It is a significant number, but if we look at the fact that you have a department that has been set up for the development of a community which has really been marginalized, and the distance between them and development, because development is supposed to include everybody, and it is supposed to result in people's lives being improved. But as we look at this, especially from us observing women leaders within the community, what we found is they are being excluded because of their gender from important leadership roles. Before, if you had the community's cultural role of women, you had a bidan, who is the midwife, and she had an equal role to even male community leaders. But today, because they only recognize male tok batins, women are excluded. So you have a lot of women. So saya ceritakan Kak Fatimah bahawa kita ada wanita yang berani, yang bila berlaku pencerobohan, mereka di depan, they actually stand in front of the bulldozers and they stop the development from happening. We call it pencerobohan. It is actually an invasion of their village perimeters. So women are actually at the forefront because men go out to work. And it's women who are dealing with all this encroachment, So, but the thing is, within the community, there is no way for women to develop their leadership in a way that they can engage meaningfully. That means they actually say, this is what I think, and this is how I think we should look at how this community should go forward with dealing with this encroachment.
And this is where Empower comes in.
This is where we come in and we open up the space, and then we help them engage with the processes. Because a lot of things that have been happening is they have been kept in the dark about structures. We need to talk to them about structural problems. So why have they been excluded?
Yeah, that's true. Why they have been excluded. We will talk more about it after a short break. Thanks.
Voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And we are back again with all three of our interesting women political leaders in their own respective area and work.
So, just now during the break, we were discussing about how tedious it is for the kids, especially the female children in the Orang Asli community, that it's so hard for them to get to the education. So maybe akak boleh cerita sikit pasal anak kakak yang betapa susahnya untuk pergi sekolah dari tingkatan 1 ke 5.
Anak akak daripada tingkatan 1 hingga tingkatan 5 boleh dikatakan susah. Setiap ibu bapa mesti susah. Tetapi akak, walau susah macam mana pun, akak tetap berusaha. Berjumpa dengan pihak sekolah. Lepas tu, cari pendapat yang lain. Jadi, anak akak daripada 1 hingga 5 memang tak ada masalah. Kira okey. Sebab akak selalu berinteraksi dengan pihak sekolah. Apa masalah akak tak tahu, akak minta nasihat dia orang, pihak sekolah akan bagi tahu akak ke mana hala tuju akak yang nak pergi. Akak terus pergi. Lepas tu sekarang anak akak sudah tingkatan 2 seorang, tingkatan 3 seorang, masuk kolej seorang. Sekarang akak menghadapi yang masuk kolej. Sepatutnya yang masuk kolej ni dia ada dana khas. Dia ada dana khas daripada kerajaan selalu kepada JKOA untuk pendidikan anak orang asli. Tetapi malanglah anak akak sem pertama dapat, sem kedua, ketiga tak dapat. Akak berjumpa dengan pihak pensyarah di kolej. Sekarang kami telah berbincang macam mana cara pendidikan orang asli. Sebab orang asli ni dikatakan subsidi. Sekarang pihak kolej tengah hubungi pihak JKOA pusat. Berbincang macam mana caranya duit yang disalurkan khas untuk pendidikan orang asli itu kepada JKOA negeri. Sekarang JKOA negeri lah yang bertanggungjawab menyerahkan dana tu kepada setiap JKOA daerah. Sekarang anak akak di dalam college dia di dalam daerah JKOA daerah Pekan. Tapi kami dapat tahu semua negeri Pahang tak dapat bantuan lagi yang mana masuk college.
Jadi bila dia tak dapat dana tu, macam mana dia sambung dengan SEM 2, SEM 3?
SEM 2, SEM 3 akak kena usahakan sendiri macam mana nak dapat pembelajaran anak akak. Kalau macam, sebab itulah akak cakap orang asli ni susah. Daripada isi borang ini, orang asli kebanyakan dia tak tahu menulis, membaca, ibu bapa mereka. Sebab itulah kebanyakan anak mereka ni ketinggalan. Yang paling kritikal adalah keuangan. Keuangan kita nak masuk kolej tu bukan sikit-sikit. Orang asli dia tak ada keuangan macam tu.
Tapi bila cakap pasal pendidikan, kerajaan bukan bagi pendidikan percuma bagi orang asli.
Ya, memang dikatakan pendidikan percuma. Tetapi pada hakikatnya itulah orang asli kena bayar sendiri. Tak bayar sendiri, anak awak tak lepas ke mana-mana pergi.
I want to ask you, Jana, why this issue has not been raised on a national level? And I think this is the first time any Malaysian, who are orang asli would know about the situation that they need to fill out so many forms. They even need to pay for their own education when in fact it's supposed to be free.
Yeah, I agree with you, Arlene, because when we were doing the workshops with the women, we were also very surprised to find out that a lot of them were not being able to access education as a right. I think one of the first things that we need to address is the fact that we have deep structural problems, like how do marginalized groups access rights, So when the community is also not aware of how to access rights, and the fact the state fails to deliver on developmental processes like education, it's a big problem. And as we know, Orang Asli issues, we always talk about the land reform, we talk about their rights to resources. So issues like education kind of take a back seat. And when it comes to women, right, issues that affect girls and women, it's going to take, it's going to be even more marginalized. So now it's good that we have a community woman actually talking about an issue in such a visible manner. So we need to highlight it, talk about the struggles that women go through. Like her daughter is not the only one. In fact, a lot of the young women that we met during the training had experienced that. A lot of them are very capable leaders, but they had to drop out of school because they were doing care work, which fell on young women's shoulders, the eldest daughter. And some of them were also not able to continue education to tertiary level because there is no special program for the community. It's not like maybe has a special program for Orang Asli women. Like if you see internationally, there are scholarships specifically addressing the needs of Aborigines, indigenous communities. But we don't seem to have that in Malaysia. Or if it exists, we don't seem to know enough information. So imagine if you live in Pahang and you live in a community which does not have access to media, like people outside that area, you can be very certain that you're going to be left out, of the loop of information.
Yeah. Wasanthee, I want to ask you, what needs to be done on the institutional and policy level, you being the local councillor, working in terms of trying to gauge more women to participate politically on issues that are faced by them on a daily basis?
So far, we have not much policies by the government actually to protect and prevail the women's rights in all aspects. At the same time, we don't have rooms for gender equality actually to sustain the fundamental growth in Malaysia. definitely we can say that now we could see that very clear in our state of Selangor, that where it's a difficult for a woman to become an MB. I mean, that kind of at the same time, we also need to have the voice of more women in parliament, where decision making levels takes place, you see. And at the same time, foremost, it's a good governance. We need a very good governance with a capable leadership, with leadership skills, and that, so that actually we can have more ideas on to run a government in a very good manner. That's the thing that I feel.
Maybe I could give an example, on the ground example of how this happens. So you're in the local council, and there's a advertisement for jobs. So you say a woman local councillor sits on the committee for employing people, job employment. So you have a certain set of groups, candidates coming in, but look at the kind of questions that they are probably being asked during the interview. So men will be asked different set of questions. It's very gendered, So women will be asked, can you go out at night and work if you have to? Are you married? Do you have children? Men will never be asked these questions.
Will you get pregnant soon?
Yes, will you get pregnant soon? Which is already discriminatory, because local councils are part of the government, and we have the women's policy which protects them from discrimination. Article 8 protects you from gender discrimination. But the thing is, at a very practical level, we don't have these processes being put into place, because the awareness is so low. Yeah, the awareness is so low. So if we look at the kind of discussions that are going on in Parliament, are they talking about, for example, how to protect women in the workplace? Like talking about sexual harassment in the workplace. We still don't have a sexual harassment policy. Women are still being raped in a very and violence against women is going to a point where it's beyond control. So I think one of the things we need to be realistic about is women themselves need to talk about these issues. If women themselves are going to talk about these issues, they need to be politicized. And we're not talking about supporting particular political parties. We're talking about understanding the fact that you have the opportunity to engage in a process that will give you power and will give you voice. However, in Malaysia, we don't have such opportunities. Why? We don't have training that is specific to develop women leaders. Like when Wasanthee came into the Women's Political Participation Program, she had never gone through any formal training on what happens in politics. How do you negotiate for power? How do you deal with your party? Even within political parties, both factions, you don't have specific training that addresses the gaps that women politicians face. Men do politics differently. Women do politics differently. Women still face a lot of problems. For example, the Diana's by-election, you saw how it was all about her physical, external appearance. It's always about the woman's external experience, I mean, external attributes. It's not about what she says. It's not about how she says it. I think it's a challenge, yes, to change perceptions. But we've always been managing it. We've never actually gone out and tried to change it by making serious changes. Like, put gender education into education. Put gender awareness into the way you run the government. Put in gender budgets that actually allocate funds directly to women.
Interesting comments. Gowri, you want to ask something about the changes that they have been through?
I was just wondering, after engaging with these people in the trainings that you mentioned, what are some of the changes that you observed?
Maybe Wasanthee can talk about her personal experience.
Yeah,
that'd be
Wasanthee.
great.
And also Fatimah can add in more, from the Orang Asli perspective.
We had undergone a few series of training with Empower, especially, and we should thank. Why I said that we have a group of who went along with all the series of training and all that, and I'm very grateful to Empower actually for having such trainings and camps and workshop for us to actually to how to enhance our knowledge, and at the same time how we should involve ourselves with the community, how we should address our issues, where should we address these issues, to whom, and all that. It's a kind of knowledge that you don't get it in a just a easy manner. I feel we have been going through these sessions of workshop, how we deal with people and all that, and it actually helped me a lot to gain confidence at the same time, and at the same time elaborates more on what exactly the local issues are, how to address, whom should we bring this thing forward to, and at the same time actually it also helps the women to have more confidence and thinking level, it creates more thinking level, high thinking level and all that. So it helps me and helps a group of my those who came with me and all that, and then quite number of them now having post in a state government, and at the same time a local councillors, a local community leader, and then we are proud to be actually. Yeah.
What about Fatimah? Yeah.
Apakah perubahan yang Fatimah telah lihat dalam komuniti orang asli, terutamanya bagi wanita orang asli dalam kesedaran politik mereka?
Apa yang saya lihat, wanita-wanita orang asli masa kini mereka bangkit dan ada juga pertolongan daripada kawan-kawan kita seperti Empower, Jana, selalu memberi semangat kepada wanita-wanita orang asli. Jadi sekarang mereka pun sudah bangkit untuk nak buat perubahan diri mereka sendiri, seperti yang Jana ceritakan tadi. Sekarang orang asli, dulu wanita orang asli ni bila nampak orang luar ni tutup muka, punya doang hormat, malu. Tetapi sekarang wanita orang asli sekarang hormat mereka tidak terlalu hormat. Jika orang-orang lain tidak menghormati mereka, mereka pun tidak akan menghormati orang lain. Mereka
hanya
lawan.
menjalankan tanggungjawab mereka, bukannya mereka sangat istimewa kan?
Tetapi sekarang kita serata-rata, saya pergi daripada Semenanjung hingga ke Sabah Sarawak, kita nampaklah kebangkitan wanita orang asli ni, orang asal, begitu menyerlah sekali.
Terima kasih semua. But before we end this session, I just want, in conjunction with Malaysia Day and Merdeka Day, Duran ASEAN is gauging with all speakers on their opinion about what is their ideal Malaysia and what is their wish for Merdeka Day and also Malaysia Day.
I think it's time we started recognizing it's Malaysia Day. Yeah, I think Merdeka is a very old colonial trope that's been sold to us. Yeah, so yes, we need to feel that we're equal in this country. We need to feel that we can all participate and contribute to democratic practices. I really want to see a Malaysia which doesn't alienate anyone and is able to engage everybody, regardless if you're homeless, if you've got HIV, AIDS, if you're LGBT, if you're Orang Asli, engages everyone and everyone feels that they're an equal player.
Well, for me, ideal Malaysia should have equal rights to all Malaysians. That's the thing. Yeah.
Kami dari Duran ASEAN ingin mengetahui pendapat para speaker kami berkaitan dengan apakah ideal Malaysia bagi mereka dan juga pendapat mereka tentang Hari Merdeka dan juga Hari Malaysia.
Pendapat akak ini kira macam Merdeka sudah 57, tak lama lagi 58. Tetapi masyarakat orang asli masih lagi tenggelam jauh. Dulu dan kini orang asli ni suara mereka hanya kepada macam ketua mereka lah, senator. Tetapi suara senator tu pun orang asli tak pernah dengar tentang suara hati orang asli. Tetapi sekarang wanita-wanita orang asli, mereka menginginkan pihak kerajaan tunaikanlah hak orang asli. Seperti yang telah termaktub di dalam hak orang asal sedunia, itu Deklarasi Pertubuhan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu berkenaan dengan hak orang asli, iaitu UNDRIP. Kerajaan harus laksanakan tanggungjawab beliau, mengiktirafkanlah hak orang asli, dan juga identiti orang asli. Jangan lagi sudah 57, tak lama lagi 58 tahun merdeka, orang asli masih lagi dikategorikan di dalam lain-lain. Apakah lain-lain itu orang asli ni dikategorikan sebagai binatang kot? Sebab itu,
kalau boleh jangan ada kategori langsung. Semua manusia ada sama, semua rakyat Malaysia adalah sama.
Sebab itu, sedangkan binatang dia ada reserve tempat duduk dia, reserve hutan, reserve sungai, semua ada reserve. Mengapa orang asli tidak iktirafkan sebagai orang asli Malaysia, dan mengapa kerajaan sekarang tidak mengiktiraf apa itu hak orang asli? Sedangkan kerajaan telah 2 kali menandatangani hak deklarasi hak asasi orang asli yang UNDRIP di PBB. Mengapa dia tak laksanakan kepada orang asli sekarang?
Dengan itu, terima kasih Fatimah. Terima kasih, thank you Wasanthee and also Jana. Terima kasih semua, and we hope that our listeners will, gauge more with our speakers later on. We will post it on Facebook, and let us know your opinion about women participation in politics. Thank you.